Hello, LilyKatchum video. Today we're gonna take a look at XL Medicham in the Open Great League. Open Great League is going to be back, and as Medicham is one of the Pokemon that got an insane nerf over the last 3 seasons, we kinda want to take a look at here today if this Pokemon actually maybe has some play. This thing has access to the fast move of Psycho Cut, so while Counter got nerfed this season, it doesn't have to run it. It can also rely on Psycho Cut, which generates energy quite fast, but also we're going to have access to the coverage move of Ice Punch and Dynamic Punch for some hard-hitting damage. Medicham is kind of unique because it's kind of the best fighting type Pokemon in terms of like the bulk, like it is the bulkiest Pokemon. I think in terms of the fighting type Pokemon, they're all kind of squishy usually. And while I say Medicham is the bulkiest of them, doesn't mean that this Pokemon is actually insanely bulky. Like back in the day, you might expected this Pokemon to be very bulky, but it was just very spammy and of course has a great typing for the Go Battle League, which made it interesting. But here, as you're gonna see already in the first battle, it actually does quite a bit, as it's gonna be able to take one knockout, get one Pokemon low, and now we're going to still have it in the back with a few HP left and an Ice Punch stored. Also interesting here, we're going to have the Toxapex in the lead, which is going to be our main answer to Azumarill. Azumarill is a Pokemon that I expect to be quite dangerous, especially against the backline that we have here. And so we kind of needed the hardest answer for this one, also just generally against any kind of fairy type Pokemon. But also we kind of needed to have a bit of an answer towards Pokemon like Feraligatr, where also the Toxapex really helps out quite a bit. Next up, going to be our Quagsire. Quagsire, of course, got a bit of a nerf this season, but I kind of want to see on how much of an impact this nerf actually has with the Mudshot change recently. So yeah, we're gonna take a look at this Pokemon here today as well. And so it's going to be an interesting team, and you're gonna hear my honest opinion about Medicham, as they're going to be able to actually win the first battle here quite easily, as the opponent's Greninja is gonna go down very soon, just to even the poison jab damage, and so we can move on to the next opponent. So, we're going to have here a horrible lead for us. We're going to swap out, going to get into the Quagsire. Quagsire, definitely like the pacing is an issue for this Pokemon. It is for sure not as strong as it was before. And I think that's a good thing. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think it's a very decent thing that this Pokemon got a bit of a nerf, because yeah, like this thing really was very strong and very dominant the last season. And I like that the changes kind of brought a completely different meta. And I think that it's also a meta, or like generally speaking, the change is something that you can build onto for the next season. So that's going to be interesting on what's gonna change. But here we're going to have Greninja against us again. Double Greninja. Greninja, my favorite Pokemon. I was actually thinking of bringing this Pokemon as well to the next regionals, but most likely not. But yeah, still Greninja, very interesting Pokemon for sure. We're going to see here again the Marowak coming back in. But all of the Pokemon that we saw so far, Medicham has actually a solid play. We have Ice Punch for this Pokemon, we have Dynamic Punch to one-shot a Greninja. So like, I'm quite curious on how good the Medicham is going to be also in this battle. So we're gonna find out very shortly. As we're gonna swap out now into the Medicham, we're gonna see the opponent going for the Bone Club. Bone Club is actually quite deadly from this thing. Being Stab, being now a 55 damage move, it is definitely quite a decent move now for them. And here I make a big mistake, and there's something else happened in a few other games. Yeah, like I did not play everything perfect. If I went for a charge move there, I most likely had a decent chance of winning the battle, as you're gonna see as well in the back. It's going to be an Auroras. I would have most likely had a decent chance of winning this one, but because I missed this one, that was kinda unfortunate. I'm not going to be able to win this one now, but I'm very certain if I went for the charge move there on the Medicham, I would have been fine. But it is what it is, it's quite late, and we can move on to the next opponent. So, we're going to have a lead of Talonflame, which is going to be lovely, but also they're swapping out into the Feraligatr. And we don't really care too much about alignment here, because we have 2 water-type Pokemon, and so the Talonflame doesn't really have anywhere to go anyway. And so I'm kind of happy with the scenario that we're in. We're gonna see the opponent going for the Hydro Cannon, getting some nice damage onto us, but Sludge Wave is going to be enough to knock them out from this range. And so we're gonna go for that one. We still have some nice energy, and the opponent decides to swap into, oh, let's find out, the Talonflame again, which is quite interesting. That's a very weird decision, because now we're going to be able to go for one charge move here, which is going to be the super effective Brine, and also another one afterwards, which would definitely hurt or get the final shield from the opponent. Let's take a look at this one. It is going to be the final shield, but of course now they have 100 energy, which is going to be a bit difficult for the Quagsire here as well. We're going to see the first charge move coming through. It's going to be that Fly, and so we cannot try to rely on getting to that Aqua Tail here. We're going to use another shield. They should not be able to go for another move afterwards as well. Let's swap out out now as well into the Azumarill, making it a bit of an awkward scenario for us because we don't really have a good answer against this Pokemon anymore, as our hard answer is already gone at this point. And so we're gonna go for a Stone Edge, gonna get them low, and we're gonna have to swap out now into the Medicham, which sadly only gonna have resisted charge move damage here coming through. It's not really worth it on having Psychic on this Pokemon, and there is no real better charge move to have on Medicham anyway. So Dynamic Punch and Ice Punch is for sure the best choice here. Dynamic Punch still actually hitting quite hard. I have to hope that the next one is going to be enough to knock them out here. Let's find out. Let's see if this is going to be enough, and it is barely not enough, and this is going to be very, very sad for me. But also, there's one thing here as well. I can still go ahead and go for the Ice Punch, which is great. And here I knew I would still be able to survive this one, but I did not know that this would be already knocking them out, and so I make a huge mistake by not going for the charge move. I should have won this battle. If I went for the charge move here, I would have won easily the CMP tie. That's on me, but it is what it is. Let's move on to the next opponent. So there's definitely some potential so far, especially for this team here. If I would be able to go for charge moves, that would definitely help out quite a bit. But yeah, definitely some potential for the team here. Mistakes from me so far that were losses. That was not based on the team or anything like this. Both of them were definitely very much winnable. And here we're gonna see the matchup against the Azumarill. It's actually a bit interesting here because you're gonna see me here going for an awkward tier. Of course, I know Stone Edge is going to be the better move to go for, but I just wanted to kind of stall out the clock so I can keep my Quagsire still around and swap out now into my Toxapex, which is going to be able to benefit quite a bit from this matchup, getting a ton of energy, and also it's going to help me out for like the next matchup afterwards, because as I can go for the full farm here, I'm going to be able to store up a ton of energy, and I'm most likely going to be able to kind of take down the Switch Dog here as well. So next charge move is coming through from our Toxapex. The Switch Dog is coming up again, and we try our best to swap out, but they can get to their charge move in time, which is okay. I can just let use a shield there basically, and now swap out into my Quagsire and knock them out with the next charge move, and I can realign myself guaranteed here, which is really, really good for me. And so let's see what's going to be happening next. What do they swap into? They swap into the Mandibuzz, and they swap out now into the Azumarill for whatever reason. They just try to get some extra energy, which is okay. I can go back into my Toxapex, and they still get to another charge move, which is again, is going to be okay. Everything is going to be resisted. Every single potential hit from Azumarill is resisted from Toxapex, which is kind of funny. But here I was really hoping that they're going to let the move go through for me with a Sludge Wave here. If they don't do this, I'm going to be screwed. But let's see here. They decide to use a shield. Okay, maybe this was not ideal, right? So what we have to do next is we're going to have to use a shield here, try to hope that they don't go for the Aerial Ace straight away, which they don't, and so we can hit this Sludge Wave, and this is going to be very crucial because now they should be in range for 2 Ice Punches. And yeah, that's the mad thing about Mandibuzz. You see me here kind of trying to maneuver around. This Pokemon is just so bulky that even a super effective Ice Punch is not going to be even able to do like 30%, which is kind of ridiculous. Like, it's a super effective hit that should do more. But still, we are going to be able to outspeed them, and so we're going to be able to also win this battle. And yeah, we can move on to the next opponent. Toxapex against Serperior. Usually actually a very good lead for us as I got swap out into the Diogong. I was quite late there with the swap out, but I feel like again, lag is still a bit of a thing there. Like, I definitely have a lot of frame drops still during those battles here. And if I went out there a bit earlier, I would have definitely had a way better matchup here because I would have been able to go for my charge move way earlier, which would have then had also more impact. As the opponent decides to use a shield for the first one, it's actually quite interesting. They're going to be able to go for another Icy Wind before I can go for my next charge move as well. But for the one afterwards, we are going to be able to outspeed them. And so this is going to be definitely decent. As you're going to see here as well, we can two-shot them with that Dynamic Punch, and so we are going to be able to now get the knockout, and in comes the Serperior, and as we will see, the Dynamic Punch is still coming through here. We're at -2 attack though, and so it doesn't do as much damage. It still kind of chunks quite a bit, so I'm kind of happy about this one, but you have to be a bit mindful about the next matchup afterwards. The opponent decides to go ahead and go for a Frenzy Plant, and now they decide to swap out into a Diggersby, and everything looks really, really good for me so far. Or does it? We will find out shortly here, I would say. I'm going to be able to go for one Awkward Tail, blocked from the opponent's Diggersby. And we can see now Scorching Sight is coming through. It's going to be able to, do quite a decent amount of damage as I can try to reach out for another one. I am going to be able to at least get a nice amount of damage there. And I try my best. I can use a shield here, and I should be able to outspeed the opponent, go for one Awkward Tail, and I completely overpredicted that the opponent would swap out of here. And this completely kills me the game. And again, this is not down to the team itself. I feel like so far every single matchup, like that we lose. Yeah, this one is going to be now a loss as well because of the way we are swapped here. Was kind of by me on my mistakes. I think the idea here of swapping out there and predicting that the opponent would swap out is something that I needed to do. I don't think this was like something where I was like, yeah, why did I do this at the end of the day? I think I had to do it in order to have a chance of winning this battle. But still, of course, not ideal to lock yourself then into such a bad matchup there, basically just over predicting what the opponent would do. Next battle against the Netherquins here. This is going to be basically a core breaker for this team. There is not a lot that I can do about the Ferrothorn, and with Ferrothorn being there, it is quite likely that they're going to be at least one, if not two answers against fighting type Pokemon in the back, and so that can be a bit of a trickier one for the Medicham, but we're gonna see it anyway here. We're gonna see the shield coming not through here for me because I didn't really feel like there was a way of me realigning myself there, so I rather decided to keep my shield for the Medicham. They swap out into the Moltres, and here's the sad thing. Ice Punch is just not really doing a lot of damage, and this is the one thing that I also kind of want to say with it. Well, yes, most of the battles that we currently lost were on my playstyle at this point, or like me just being, I don't know, a bit sleepy, I guess, to try to play the game right now and don't always go for the charge move straight away. So like this would be kind of avoidable, but still, I feel like the team itself is just missing a bit. Like, I don't think that Medicham itself is really good anymore. Like Medicham with Psycho Cut, like if you have like a tier list or whatever, it's most like between B and C tier. It is an interesting Pokemon, don't get me wrong, it's definitely a very interesting Pokemon, but it is just not as great as it was ever before, not even close to that as well. Like Dynamic Punch as well, like I feel like while the meta itself shifted a bit more towards Medicham, but Medicham is a bit better, I feel like it's still kind of awkward to try to play with it right now. Anyway, we're going to take a look at the next opponent. We're going to have a Shadow Gyarados, at least a bit of space here from the opponent as well. The crunch is coming through. Let's see if we're going to get the defense drop, which we don't, and so we should be able to just one-shot them basically with a Sludge Wave. Sludge Wave is going to be able to get the knockout, and let's find out what the next opponent is going to have here. It's going to be Quagsire. This is going to be a Mudshot again. That is going to be an interesting matchup here, so you're going to try to get them a bit lower. I can now swap out into my own Quagsire because now I put them into range, while one more Awkward Tail of my own Quagsire is going to be enough to knock them out. Of course, we're going to see here them going for an Awkward Tail as well, and so it's a bit of a trickier one. It is definitely an interesting matchup here to have two Quagsires going up against each other again, like Quagsire. It's actually still kind of highly ranked, but I have not really seen too many of them, and so having two at the same time here is kind of hilarious to me. But anyway, we're going to see another charge move coming through. Awkward Tail is going to be able to get the shield, and I am going to decide to most likely let the move go through exactly, and so I can now swap out into the Medicham as the opponent decides to swap out into the Drapier. And of course I know about that Pokemon now, and we can go ahead and go for that hard-hitting Dynamic Punch, doing quite a lot of damage, and we can even decide to use a shield here if I wanted to, but it's going to be actually a Sludge Bomb, so like not the crunch that I expected. We can go for an Ice Punch, but it's looking really, really good for us. We have at this point of time a ton of energy, and we just need to hit basically one or more Ice Punch to win the battle, but the opponent decides to forfeit already. Lots of forfeits here so far with this team. Final battle going to be against Machamp in the lead. That's going to be a very favorable matchup for us in the lead, as Machamp doesn't have any coverage for us. The Rock Slide is basically barely doing any damage, which is really good for us as well, at least, as we're going to try our best to go for a Sludge Wave. We're going to get the knockout against the Machamp, and they swap out back into the Clodsire. And I was not really sure what I wanted to do here, because Medicham is kind of neutral. Our Quagsire is really good against it. Our lead is kind of a bit more tough, I would say. And so, yeah, it's definitely a bit more of a trickier one. But here, as you're going to see, the opponent is deciding to swap out. We can go for the Stone Edge. And the Azumarill is going to get hit quite hard by this. But let's see if we're going to be able to align ourselves later on. The Ice Beam is coming through here. It is going to be definitely enough to get us into a range where it's a bit uncomfortable to play around here. But as you're going to see, the Stone Edge is going to be able to get them quite low. We are going to try our best here with another Awkward Tail to knock them out. I think that's going to work out quite well. But actually they decided to use a shield here, which is quite interesting for that kind of like health range as well, a bit of a shield. But as you're gonna see here, Toxapex is now going to have a great time, and yeah, we're going to let the move go through actually, as I kind of want to try to rely on that Medicham and hope that this actually would work out. And so, let's take a look here for the final battle on what Medicham can do on its own. We're gonna see the Psycho Cut coming through, we're gonna see some Ice Punches coming through, and hopefully we're going to see an entire sweep here of my Medicham. So, Ice Punch coming through, we're gonna get them kind of low. That's kind of the way as well, which is kind of a bit annoying, but also, like, Psychic is the only Psychic type move that it can learn as a charge move, doesn't really help it either. either after the nerfs of it. But as you're gonna see here, we're gonna be able to go for another Ice Punch, gonna take the Clodsire out, we're gonna see the Azumarill, we're gonna be able to fully farm them down as well, and we're going to be able to win the battle. And so this is going to be it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I will see you then. Bye bye.